The first part of the stream, I did it again. Ah! Well, I didn't have my mic on. Sorry about that. Um, Disregard the first part of the stream. Um, we're just going to do another intro. Hi, how is everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well. I was just telling the walls, because I was on mute, that, yeah, I had a busy week, so I haven't been on in about 6 days, which is totally cool. This is kind of distracting. That's fine. Yeah, I haven't been on in about 6 days. A lot has obviously happened in the United States and around the world. But in my world, I just got very busy with work and life. And I'm going to have to find a new schedule to hop on here and make sure that I'm keeping up with putting out content, making sure this community grows and goes in the right direction. But yeah, I hope everybody had a great week. I was just talking very briefly about how I had a good Pride event. It started at 1:30, and basically it ran all the way up. There's like different streets that all kind of connected to this main street, Congress Street in Portland. And then the parade went all the way down to this park, Deering Oaks. And they had food trucks and a whole bunch of other stuff there. Yeah, it was a great event. And one of the streets, the street that I work on, Preble Street, just so happens that runs up into Congress Street. Had a bunch of people outside, different floats, different things going on. Everybody that came through the restaurant was great. People needed to use the facilities. People needed to use or get some cold water. It was really hot out. But the costumes, the signs, the vibes were great. And yeah, it was just a really solid event. Someone actually gave me this, which I'm still wearing because it's great. Love Pride. And everybody that came through was amazing. And I guess from talking to several people that were in the parade or marching with it, the signs were pretty crazy, and they got very strategic about the signs. Some of them more, I don't know, out of pocket based, whatever you want to say, signs. They knew when they would pass law enforcement and when they would pass photographers that were taking pictures of the parade. So they made sure to put away some of the more incendiary signs so they wouldn't get them on, like, photographed by the local news. I just thought that was really, really smart and pretty fantastic. Anyway, I don't want to stay on too long. I do want to stay on too long. That's a lie. I can't stay on for too long tonight. But in the essence and in the pursuit of trying to get the reps in, get the community growing, I'm going to be here as long as I'm here. Probably is going to be maybe an hour or so. We're going to fly through some stuff. Videos take a little bit. Articles take a little bit to go through and parse through. Obviously, the elephant in the room, the U.S. has just led a bombing campaign, striking 3 nuclear bases in Iran. And it is a huge red line, ratcheting up, huge escalation in things. Specifically, if you take Israel out of the mix, If we are just going off of U.S. and Iran deliberations, this is unprecedented. Not, I mean, not really, but it is a huge escalation in our relationship, and it is, as we'll talk about, seemingly, in my opinion, unconstitutional, as every bombing campaign that we've done in the Middle East and across northern Africa has been in the past. So this is not a new thing. However, given the country that we're attacking, given Israel's relationship and fascination with trying to attack this country, given the fact that this country has 98 million people in it, it's a greatly mountainous country, more than several large population centers, diverse demographic of people. I feel like people misunderstand Iran, and I mean at large. Whenever we invade a country, the joke is that people start to try to put their finger on the map, like, oh, where's Libya? Like, oh, we just bombed Libya. Oh, we just bombed Somalia. Where's that? Oh, we just bombed Iraq. Just invaded them. Where's that? And the issue that I take with that is that it divorces the humanity of the people in the country. People often associate states with the people. The people are different, obviously. The citizens of Iran, the citizens of Libya, the citizens of Somalia and Afghanistan and Pakistan, so on and so forth, are so much different than the state actors that are making these large worldwide decisions and international decisions. It's like saying, take a random person, take myself, take one of my friends, whatever, and saying, oh yeah, we're all associated, we're all supporters of Donald Trump. It's like, no, that's not true. And I'm nothing like him. So to suggest that a random Iranian would be at all like the Ayatollah, or like a random, French person would be like Macron. Like, not everybody supports him. Not everybody is like him. So this often is what happens. So there's that component. And then there's also the component of people not being able to, or not having the background, I'll say, of the history, the culture, the people, like that we're talking about. We're bombing these countries, and the first casualty of war that people say is truth. That's the quote. But the real casualty of war is innocent civilians and children and people that didn't want to be involved in the war probably in the first place. Much like what is happening in Gaza. And that culture, that humanity, gets lost because of a lot of things. And one of which is how our collective cultural stance is on how we view ourselves in the world. We view ourselves as the dominant country in the world, so everybody else is, second rung to us, which kind of makes us the big dog in the room. Everybody else can take a back seat to the United States. So there's a little bit of that. There's also an aspect of the propaganda within the United States of American exceptionalism, and in how we view, I think, history and how we view current events. At least with like history, the issue that I take with it is that we talk about like specific events here and there, and there's no through line through any of it. And then when you talk about these specific events, people wonder how one event leads to the other event and leads to the other event that, surpasses it. And there's no analysis of that through line that I was referencing. And then there's no analysis of, during current events and during historical events, the people that are involved. We'll go over major actors and stuff like that. If you talk about the Revolutionary War, you'll talk about George Washington, you'll talk about Thomas Jefferson, you'll talk about all these, the founding fathers, the framers of the Constitution. You'll talk about different generals, you'll talk about the British generals as well. But you don't, they're just names. And that's what I love, honestly, about going to battlefields, into the houses, into, like, because I grew up in Boston, it brought humanity to the people. Like, if I can see where Thomas Jefferson read the Declaration of Independence when it was first written, if I can see where, Benjamin Franklin, tinkered with a lot of his inventions in Philadelphia, it brings humanity to the people. And now they're not just names in a textbook. They're actual people. So there's a bit of that when we are analyzing current events, when we're hearing the U.S. bombs Iran, Israel bombs Iran, even disagreeing with the state of Iran and how it treats its people, even disagreeing with how Israel treats its people and its citizens, and it treats Palestinians, and how it's a problematic figure in the world, to say the least, in an apartheid state. Not every citizen of Israel supports what the administration is doing. And that gets lost. So I just want to start with a primer about making sure when we're thinking about these things, when news breaks, when you're looking at the history, they're people. It's not the people making the decisions, it's the state making the decisions, and then the people have to live with it. Hey, what's up? So, yeah. Again, Americans are kind of selfish. So, think of, if you don't like Donald Trump, think about someone from Iran thinking, oh, all Americans are supportive of Donald Trump. It's like, no, we're not. And you can see that in the No Kings protest, where over 5 or 6 million people came out. It's like 2% of the entire country came out. So for Americans, it is just a reminder, when we look at countries, when you see military action taking place, remind yourself that there are real people being affected by it. In the propaganda, in the articles, in the things on social media that you've been fed to believe, like, say, for example, that Iran is a Shia hellhole that is run by Sharia law and everybody hates their lives. It's like, you might want to do some more deep diving into Iran's culture. watch a friggin' Anthony Bourdain episode on Iran. He does a fantastic job of breaking down different countries and showing their inner parts in a very, very concise and approachable way. The artistry of what he does is unmatched, and that's why he's the GOAT. So, just a reminder. We're going to jump into it. If I have time for immigration, we'll talk about it. I don't want that to be forgotten. This is still taking place. I know we have to take our eyes... We don't want to take our eyes off the ball fully. But sometimes that's what these things are designed to do, is they're designed to take your eye off the ball of what's going on, like literally like last week. And the immigration raids are still happening. People are still being separated from their families. People are still being deported. American citizens are still being harassed. Citizen or not, paperwork or not, people are being affected by it. It's still happening. So I would like to get to that. I do tend to get off on rants, so I apologize. But let's get into it. So, what did I have up? Oh, one of my tabs is a live stream. Let's mute that. This is a live stream of Tel Aviv. Got to keep an eye on that. There was alarms, I think, an hour ago. I don't know if there was direct strikes. I don't know. I didn't hear. But we can follow up on that. So let's get into it. We'll start. I'll kind of walk you through my thought process on things. I'll kind of, if we want to go into Operation Midnight and what the operation that the B-2 bombers took off from Missouri and went and dropped bombs on Iran last night. We can talk about that. But I want you guys to have a primer of what happened and then talk about some different things that, I think of in the analysis of this information and receiving this information. And, 1 second. Sorry. And then, we'll kind of go through it. And I'm sure I'll have different rabbit holes and different talking points and different things that I want to bring up. But we'll start with this video.
That Iran directly threatened America?
Tom, tonight NBC News has learned that message from Iran was conveyed to President Trump by an intermediary during last week's G7 summit, warning the president if he launched airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran could respond by unleashing terrorist attacks on the U.S. by activating sleeper cells it has inside this country, according to two U.S. officials, all as we learn new details about those historic strikes.
Tonight, the new video, B-2 bombers returning to their Missouri base after those secretive strikes. And now our first look at the targets they hit inside Iran. These before and after images show the massive impact of the U.S. attack on Isfahan, one of 3 Iranian nuclear facilities hit.
Initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
The commander-in-chief with this declaration overnight.
I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Pentagon officials say it's too soon to tell, but tonight the U.S. is also preparing for potential Iranian retaliation, though the Trump administration emphasizes the attack was intended as a limited one-time strike.
We're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program.
President Trump inside the Situation Room with Vice President Vance, his secretaries of state, and
Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then we had dumb presidents, and now we have a president who actually knows how to accomplish America's national security objectives. So this is not going to be some long, drawn-out thing. We've got in, we've done the job of setting their nuclear program back. We're going to now work to permanently dismantle that nuclear program over the coming years, and that is what the president has set out to do. Simple. And the second thing is, Kristen, I certainly...
I just realized I was muted again. It's insane. I obviously say it in the tweet there. The level of hubris and stupidity with, oh, well, every other president has, done the Middle East a disservice and has gone in with absolutely no plan and has just been a complete idiot. But our president is different. He has a plan. He's smart. The hubris and the stupidity is outrageous. That is part of the same interview. That's why I just kind of went off on that.
And Defense, as well as Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane. The president issuing this warning to the Iranian regime.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen.
The historic U.S. military operation complex and choreographed. The nuclear sites targeted, Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo, buried deep beneath an Iranian mountain. The U.S. adding the element of surprise, with the president giving the final green light 48 hours after announcing he would take up to 2 weeks to decide whether to strike.
Just a time to see whether or not people come to their senses.
First, the apparent decoys. On Saturday morning, B-2 stealth bombers launching from Missouri flying west. Hours before the B-2s used in the actual strikes headed east. The U.S. deploying 14 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs for the first time in a military operation. In this satellite image of Fordo, if you zoom in, you can see several holes from the bunker-busting bombs, which explode underground. The B-2s also dropping them on Natanz.
They dropped 30,000-pound bombs on a target the size of a washing machine.
U.S. submarines firing Tomahawk missiles to hit the Isfahan site. In all, 125 U.S. warplanes and 75 precision-guided munitions used. And the Pentagon says Iran never fired a single shot.
This operation underscores the unmatched capabilities and global reach of the United States military.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pinning the praise on President Trump.
Many presidents have dreamed of delivering the final blow to Iran's nuclear program, and none could until President Trump.
And after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard in March said Iran had an unprecedented amount of enriched uranium for a non-nuclear state, but that the Ayatollah had not ordered the development of a nuclear weapon, Secretary of State Marco Rubio argued the Iranian threat was urgent.
It doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons.
Peter Alexander, NBC News, the White House.
Now to the stealth operation. Tonight, we take you inside the warplanes and submarines that fired on Iran's nuclear facilities, the largest B-2 strike in U.S. history. NBC's Courtney Cubie with the plan of attack tonight.
Tonight, new details about Operation Midnight Hammer. Just after midnight Saturday morning, a group of U.S. Air Force stealth B-2 bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base under the cover of darkness. Defense officials said they were headed to Guam, but 7 of the bombers quietly flew in the opposite direction.
Part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders.
Flying in near silence to avoid detection, the bombers, each with 2 crew members and loaded with 2 30,000-pound bombs each, began their 36-hour round-trip flight, made possible by dozens of tankers refueling them in the air along the way. At 5 p.m. Saturday night, a large group of fighter jets joined the bombers as they approached Iranian airspace. At the same time, a U.S. Navy submarine launched 30 Tomahawk missiles towards Iran. Less than 1 hour later, the bombers entered Iranian airspace and some of the jets sped ahead, targeting any Iranian air defenses that could threaten the B-2s and ready to take on any Iranian jets that scrambled in their path. At 6:40 p.m., the U.S. began striking 3 locations, dropping 14 massive ordnance penetrators known as bunker busters on Fordo and Natanz, just as Tomahawk missiles crashed down on a 3rd site at Isfahan. By 7:30 p.m., all of the aircraft were safely out of Iranian airspace. According to the Pentagon, Iran never fired a shot at the U.S. aircraft.
Iran's fighters did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise.
The B-2 bomber, the only aircraft in the world that can deploy the massive bomb, this marked the largest B-2 strike in history. A historic mission cloaked in secrecy.
Courtney Kube joins us live from the Pentagon. And Courtney, this is the first time these types of bunker busters were used in combat. What else can you tell our viewers about them?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. These 30,000-pound bombs are uniquely suited to target underground facilities like the one at Fordo. They're equipped with GPS trackers, and their extremely strong casing allows them to punch through reinforced concrete and drill down up to 200 feet. You can see 3 of the holes that they made there in that picture before they even detonate. Tom?
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC.
So that's a quick little primer. This is obviously some people that are feeling some sort of way about what's going on. Not a wrong take either. I did want to show you guys this. This was just like a kind of all-encompassing Trump thing, but so far, 5 months into Trump's second term, he has promised to end all current wars. Ukraine is still not improving while he's starting another war in the Middle East. Turned ICE into a modern Gestapo. Promised lower gas prices. Promised lower grocery prices. And selling off dozens of millions of acres of federal land to the ultra-elite for short-term profit while sacrificing wilderness areas that were meant for all Americans to enjoy. Yes. Just a little, primer on everything and a reminder of everything. And that's not even touching half of it. Anyway, talked about Mr. Eyeliner, Mr. Hot Topic himself, J.D. Vance, the hubris in saying that all other presidents that have been involved in the Middle East have just been dumb. But Trump, yes, it is Eyeliner. He has had other videos, I think, in the past when he was like an author, and you can see him in interviews where he looks like semi-normal, but I don't know, like it's like he went through a phase. It's like he found a band that he likes, or like maybe he got broken up with someone or something. I don't know, but I'll replay the video real quick. It just shows the gross stupidity. It's not a phase, Mom. Yeah. He is the Trump admin, Avril Lavigne, and his stupid face in this freeze frame here. No, he's basically saying like that. I'll just play the clip, but the just supreme stupidity that you would have to say this with a straight face.
And the second thing is, Kristen, I certainly empathize with Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then we had dumb presidents, and now we have a president who actually knows how to accomplish America's national security objectives. So this is not going to be some long, drawn-out thing. We've got in. We've done the job of setting their nuclear program back. We're going to now work to permanently dismantle that nuclear program over the coming years, and that is what the president has set out to do. Simple. And the second.
People have to comment when I'm muted, because I am just going to continuously embarrass myself by saying things when I don't know, I keep making the same mistake. Sorry. I usually go live for about 2 hours. Tonight I'm thinking about, maybe an hour, hour and a half. Stay as long as you want. I appreciate your viewership. Jumping back in, there's a lot of different things that Iran can do to respond right now. No, it's me. It's like I'll watch a video and I'll mute myself because I don't want it to echo for everybody, and then I'll just be like, yes, and go on like a 5-minute rant, and then I'm just like, all right, let me check the chat, and then I realize I'm on mute the whole time. So annoying. And it's totally my fault. Just shows you how much of a consummate professional I am. Anyway, we're figuring things out as we go, as you can see. There is a lot of different things that Iran can do. There's a lot of different analysis on their military capabilities, how old their missiles are. Do you talk about anything other than politics like love or nature or global warming? We can definitely talk about those things. I love talking, like right now, and welcome, by the way. I kind of am talking about news and politics, but like in the first ever stream where I was like, hey, this is my channel, this is what I'm trying to do with this, I kind of was leaving it open to what the community liked, what the community wanted. I love feedback, but there are also core things that I want to talk about. So in my time of going live, I might go to some different topics. Despite my title, I do kind of go around to some different things. Right now, and I said it this way, and I was like, maybe it sounds a little bit selfish, but I talk about things that are affecting me as a means of almost like catharsis, but also for me to gain more insight and to gain a little bit more knowledgeability about like certain topics and current events. I do want to talk about more than just the news and current events. I love talking about nature. I love I love science as well. So talking about global warming, I haven't even really talked about global warming in quite some time. And I really need to get back into researching it. Rocks are also great. Rocks are great. Damn, rocks are great, aren't they? Plants are great. We can talk about all the things that are great. Nature's really neat. But seriously, do I have advice for a girl? Shoot. Who's the lucky lady? I'm here for advice as well. I'm here for whatever people need. I am gonna talk about politics, but like, hey, you're here, so how can I help you? If I can. I don't know how to give you advice unless I know more information. How long have you known her? Do you know her from work? Do you... Yes, Lord Benjamin, tell us your ailments. Not ailments, just give us the 411. Give us the deets, give us the tea, so I can look into the tea leaves for you, sir. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you... I'm sure you're typing. While you're typing, and you can... I'll stop on a dime whenever you... the ailments. Let us be the balm or ointment for your ailments. This is a very loving community. How do I work up the nerve to talk to her? That's a tough one, man. As someone that has pretty solid social anxiety, despite what I'm doing right now, it's not easy for me to go up to random people and strangers and talk to them, just in general. Especially if I like someone. Like, oh man, then there's all these expectations in my mind. And there's like a lot of shoulds. Like, I should be outgoing. I should be charming. I should be, like someone that she's interested in or he's interested in or whatever you're talking to. And it's best to go into conversations, no matter who you're talking to, with no expectations. Just kind of like knock everything out of your brain and just go up and just... Not to be cliche, but just be yourself. And I know that's cliche, but don't have any expectations going in, because I overanalyze everything. I try to look at what they're doing, how they're saying certain things. Don't do that. Just shut that part of your brain off and just be you. And you can tell her you like rocks, but a good thing to do is go up to her and say, hi, my name is Lord Benjamin. I noticed you are doing X, Y, and Z. Do you do that often? Or do you and it kind of pings in certain directions where you can start conversations. Ask a lot of questions. And I don't know, just things happen naturally if you are... And people are interested do you have a lucky lady? I have a lady in my life, but from experience, I've talked to, and it's happened for me in different ways every time. I've met women through work. I've met them just out in social settings, and every single time I wasn't thinking about it, and I wasn't expecting it to happen either. It just happened, and I was just myself, and I didn't have any plan going in. I was just like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? How was your day? Do you, I don't know, isn't this one thing crazy? It's easier with work because you can kind of commiserate over coworkers, and you can say oh, isn't Jason a lazy piece of shit for not sweeping the floors last night? And then you can kind of have a common enemy. But don't do that. But like, you can kind of like, because you co-inhabit a space together quite a bit, it gives you more time and more opportunity to talk to that person. Friggin' Jason, am I right? I met the person that I'm talking to right now through Tinder. So, and that's the first time that I've ever had that happen for me. So that was a new one, and that's a whole different ball game because you're not in person. So you're almost playing like this game of notice me, and like it's not genuine. I feel like that's why I deleted the apps. But with the real ones, with the real people, and I would say she's real, you are just like my earlier advice. You're just yourself. And usually I focus on, if you're on social media or you're on a dating app, I focus on their bio. And it directly kind of correlates to my advice earlier, where you're asking questions to try to gain more information about them because you care about them. You're interested in this lady. You want to know about her. You want to meet her. Well, that's the thing. It's like, that's an expectation. And that's like a thing that you're having in your mind before anything's even happened yet. So, yes, if it's all said and done and everything shakes out how it shakes out and she's your friend, then you're lucky to have met her and you have a new friend. And if you want that, then great. If you don't, that's also fine. And you actually tried rather than not saying anything in the first place. So you succeeded, you didn't fail. But I would say don't have any expectations, because you can go in and something completely unexpected can happen. So again, don't think about if she wants to be your friend. Don't think about, you guys spending a lifetime together. Just go in and start a conversation and take it from there. Be interested, be charming, be yourself, and she'll pick up on it. People pick up on genuine people. People pick up on people that are interested in what they have to say. Maintain, not creepy eye contact. Ask a lot of good questions. And I know it sounds weird, but honestly, there's a lot of good websites that if you're not good in those types of settings and you're not good in social settings, there's different things conversationally that you can do to kind of like prolong and bring conversations into interesting spots. I actually did it for myself because, again, social anxiety. So there's a lot of tools out there, man, but you'll be fine. We all trust that you'll be fine, and you'll do it. You'll land the plane one way or the other. It's all having confidence. Having confidence. I had the initial confidence to start this channel, and gosh darn it, I try to get in the reps when I can. It's not perfect, as you can see from the background, the lighting, the whole production of me originally wanting to talk about Iran and now talking about your relationship advice. But man, we do what we can, and you're gonna do what you can, and you're gonna talk to this woman that you're interested in, and it's gonna go great. I am doing the thing. I appreciate the support. Yeah, there was actually a girl, shout out to Jackie. Hopefully this will be a good story for you. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to set a mental timer for myself for 3 minutes. You and I can go back and forth, and then I want to go back to this because this is important to me too, but you're important to me, so I want to make time for both. So, long story short, I went to college, met a girl, really, really interested in this girl, known her for years. Either she was dating someone or I was dating someone, and it never worked out. And then we ended up being friends, and she just got married to a guy that I actually introduced her to, and I couldn't be more happy for them. There are people that I have approached, that I have said, hey, you know, like, I'm interested in you. There's actually a girl just recently, why didn't I tell you about her? That she was actually trying to be my friend. And I thought she was really, really pretty. And I was like, you know what? I want more than that. So it's all in what you both want. And relationships are give and takes. So if one person wants more and one person wants less, so be it. But if you can have it where, you know, she could be a great friend, then have her as a friend. You obviously value her as a person. And again, it's a preconceived or like an expectation that you have in your mind, that, you know, it's going to go one way or the other. Try not to do that. But to try to like quell your nervousness about it, if this is truly a great person, then if she does become a friend, then she could be a friend for life, and it's worth having her in your life as a friend, or whatever she is. Maybe she's going to be a romantic person, so to you. So, and maybe you'll end up marrying her. Who knows? Life is unexpected. So start the conversation. Start there. And I hope it goes your way. So, any last questions that you have for me before I jump back in, Ben? We can talk about You're a Lady. I will make a mental note, actually, because I have started bringing a notebook down here to write down some things that you guys are interested in. And if, Ben, you can drop me a follow, that would be fantastic. Because I enjoyed talking to you, brother. Global warming. We can talk about dating. I'm not very good at dating advice, but we can talk about that. We can talk about whatever you guys want. I will make some time to talk about whatever the community wants. Talk about rocks. I definitely have not... I used to be obsessed with geology, and I like totally got off of the train of geology. But you know what? If you love nature, follow this guy, Crime Pays But Botany Doesn't. It is a fantastic channel. His name is Joey Santori, and he talks in a very thick Chicago accent, and he is fantastic and gives great life advice, and massively recommend his channel, and he is a fantastic person. Again, we can talk about anything that you guys want to talk about. Joey is the best. Highly recommend. Actually, I was going through a very, very difficult time. I had just lost someone. I was watching one of his videos, and I just like reached out to him. I sent him an email, and he actually responded back to me, and he was just like, I'm so sorry for your loss. And he's at a channel where like this guy gets millions of views, and he took the time and responded to me, and man, he's a very, very genuine dude, and definitely a solid guy. So highly recommend his channel. He's very, very knowledgeable about all things nature. So little plug for Crime Pays, but Botany Doesn't. Anyway, I don't know if Lord Ben is still in the chat with us. If you're still with us, Ben, I would love to hear from you and see if any of that was valuable to you. And if you are, follow for more. And I hope things go well with your lady. Anyway, we're going to jump back in. So, enough of JD. So I just have to mentally switch because I felt like I was giving advice to a buddy. So now I have to get back into my politics and history and shit mindset. So anyway, there was a hard line for Iran, and I think what I was saying was the U.S. surpassed that hard line with its recent attacks, and it's going to be interesting to see what Iran uses in terms of its response. There is already some things in motion that I will bring up right now, but actually let's do that before we jump into the nitty-gritty with was it constitutional, was it not, yada yada yada. This is actually a good take. When two countries are bombing each other in daily and hot war and a third country joins in the bombing, that's an act of war. I'm amazed at the mental gymnastics being undertaken by neocons in DC and their social media bots to say we aren't at war so they can make war. Yeah, it is an act of war. What the U.S. has done in bombing these nuclear bases has been an extreme encroachment and moving over that line. We're in acts of diplomacy in the 6th round of talks with Iran, and to suddenly, because our attack dog in the Middle East was saying that we need to enter into the war and break up these nuclear facilities, and they couldn't do it. We enter into the war, and there wasn't any justification for it. They were enriching the uranium a step before you hit the levels in which you can make a nuclear bomb, but it was not there yet. And the Tulsi Gabbard, the United Nations Atomic Energy governors even said that they had not gone over that level required to procreate a nuclear bomb. So this was just like Israel's initial strike was a premeditated or an attack to head off potential creation of said nuclear bomb. And it was unjust because it wasn't a response to anything. It was attacking the potential for something, not an actual physical nuclear site that was operationally making weapons yet. So I just want to make sure that's clear. And the American public knows this. And we're also, I think the American public at large is sick of us being involved in the Middle East and in foreign wars, and the contrast of the lack of attention to our own citizens, of politicians not, advocating for U.S. citizens. This is why this is playing out this way, of people just being upset being in foreign wars and engaging in interventionist policies, in interventionist stance with the rest of the world. Enough is enough. And Trump, he sold himself as an isolationist and as a dove. And we're now getting ourselves into the thick of it in the Middle East with one of the largest nations. And it's not going to, they're not Iraq either. They're a completely different nation. They're actually more equipped than Iraq was by far. So if we think it's going to be a war of attrition, it's not going to go well for us. And it's going to bankrupt us in the Middle East again. Anyway, you can already see the support for the military strikes in Iran, and the opposition of it. And you can see the posts, as the Polling USA said, the post 9/11 fervor was insane. We were just attacked. People were very, very heightened and ready for revenge, and they were out for blood, honestly. And nationalism and patriotism was at an all-time high. So that number, to me, we could have attacked anyone. Like, they could have made a justification for anyone to be invaded. And eventually Iraq was. That had nothing to do with 9/11. So it just shows the American people are done with it. And he's not, like, his polling numbers, I'll bring them up in an article that I had set aside for his immigration stuff. His polling numbers are going down considerably. One of the things that Iran has the ability to do, and they just utilized it by an act of their parliament, let's see if I can find it, is blocking off the Strait of Hormuz. So, some information, it is a choke point for basically a ton of trade to go through. It is, in our globalized society, a huge choke point, mostly for oil, for other trade to go through, and a breakdown. 20% of global oil passes through the strait. So Iranian parliament just passed this. So oil prices could spike by 30 to 50%. Global inflation will likely rise. U.S. gas prices likely to potentially skyrocket. Military escalation risk, because we have to respond to it. There is a whole rabbit hole I can kind of go down of how the United States has the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. And since 1971, we've had our dollar backed by gold, the gold standard, and Richard Nixon removed us from that gold standard. Now it's more attached to petrodollars, and I will bring it up right here. So the petrodollar system is essentially the global practice of exchanging oil for U.S. dollars rather than other currency. This means that no matter what country is buying the oil, they're paying for oil producing country in petrodollars, which is dominated in U.S. dollars. Like I was saying, the global reserve currency. If you want to do business on the global market, you have to do it in U.S. dollars. So our currency is greatly impacted by reverberations and anything happening in the oil market, and anything having to do with supply chain issues and shutdowns like what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz. So it's going to impact not only the health of our dollar, but also price of a barrel of oil and gas prices and everything like that. And this is totally removing, obviously, the actually this is providing some context to why the United States would escalate from there, because they are so our country is obviously so impacted by the oil market and petrodollars that is seen by an act of war, and anything to do with putting more pressure on Iran and having them lift the blockade is a matter of national security. So that's what it would be basically sold as. So that is an escalation from Iran, and they're utilizing their means of retaliatory force, and we'll see what happens. But make no mistake, it was Israel that started this with their initial strike. And as I said in the previous stream, it was on Benjamin Netanyahu's mind for 30 years to attack Iran. And it was a dual purpose of bringing Iran to the table, and so they would be weaker in negotiating with the United States, and ultimately instigating a regime change in Iran. And it's looking at it obviously through the moral and ethical lens, like how absurd it is to not just have the people of Iran, if they want to have a revolution and displace their leader, because the sentiment is in Iran that the Ayatollah is not very, in the current regime, is not very popular. But to come in as a foreign nation and to instigate regime change with bombing campaigns is on civilians. The civilians that you initially, in your video that you released, said that you care about so much, is just absolutely absurd. And then the United States being so closely intertwined with Israel, needing to heighten it. I don't want anyone to make any mistakes here in saying that anything that Iran does from right now, this is blowback. And just a quick
What if Iran?
video.
What if Iran?
This is the first move in Iran's retaliation, could be blocking the Strait of Hormuz. They have already done it. Critical choke point where nearly a quarter of the world's oil trade flows. This narrow waterway connects the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean, and any disruption here can send oil prices skyrocketing, triggering global inflation and economic shockwaves.
Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, it could crash the global economy and maybe even trigger World War III. This narrow waterway, just 33 kilometers wide, lies between Iran and Oman. Around 20% of the world's oil and nearly 30% of global LNG flow through it every single day. Iran's ready, with submarines, missiles, and fast boats stationed nearby. One missile strike, oil tankers stop, prices could spike up to $200 a barrel. Global markets crash, recession begins. That's why the U.S. Navy is always here, to keep the energy flowing. Because this isn't just Iran's choke point, it's the... What if Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz?
I am very, very, very tempted to end the stream. I don't know how long I was on mute for. I think we might have to scrap this one. All right. Well, no one's watching at the moment, so I don't really feel too bad.